What is that you got there?
I got a secret. We don't drink beer.
We don't drink beer.
I've known Ted for a long time.
Yep.
No.
Ooh, that beer looks cold.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yo, what is going on, Indie Mogul? My name is Ted. Today we're gonna be talking about how to light beer product shots. Any kind of beverage that you're doing here, like coffee, beer, soda, all of that we're gonna be doing today in this episode. So, today I got my buddy Justin Jones. You guys know him already. And if you don't know him, you should know him because we've shot a ton of product stuff together. And today we're gonna be walking through doing this totally from scratch. So no matter where you are, no matter what camera you have, no matter what budget you have, these are gonna be some easy, simple steps that you can do to make your product shots look like this. Wow! So, ready for this? Justin, you ready?
Absolutely, let's get it.
Justin, I know that you normally shoot on your beloved Red 8K camera, but instead we have this camera here.
Oh, great.
This is the Canon 6D Mark II. It's a great camera.
How do you turn it on?
This right here is traditionally seen as a vlogging camera. It's traditionally seen as a consumer camera, but just to show you that you can make a beautiful image no matter what camera you're using here today, we're gonna be using this to make those shots. So, ready to do this?
I'm ready.
What do we do for our first step if we're trying to light a beer commercial?
Right, so we need to pick the location. For a beer or like a small microbrewery, I would say let's put that up against a brick wall. Give us that brick texture, kind of that rustic environment.
Now, in here, we're pretty lucky. Obviously, we have brick walls everywhere. And if you're shooting anywhere that has brick walls, you can use those brick walls. But if you do not have brick walls,
right,
what is one of the tips that we have here?
Bring in a brick wall.
Cool. If you can't build a brick wall, what's the next tip that we have?
You can get a fake brick wall.
Cool, sounds good. These are fake brick wall decals. No, they're not stickers. They're actually kind of printed
and
onto cardboard. They're textured. And honestly, they look very, very believable on camera. So just to show you that, again, even if you don't have this location, you can recreate this. These cost about something like $60, $70 a slice. The reason that we're using a simple brick wall is because in product shots, we're trying to keep all the emphasis on the actual product itself, not the location.
The next thing, we need some kind of surface to put our products on.
Plastic table.
There we go.
Right there. Okay, so when we're setting up our table in relation to our backdrop, what's the key thing here?
So we want to throw that background out of focus. So we're gonna go ahead and set it up at least like 10 to 15 feet away from that wall. Since we're going for the rustic feel, we wanna just get this little facade of a table and we'll have that just laying straight on our table and we'll set our products on there.
Got it, sounds good. So this is literally the end part of a wooden table that kind of looks like leaves that turn a 4-seater table into like an 8-seater table. We literally just pulled one of those off here. If you wanted to find some plywood, you could stain it yourself. You could find anything that just gives you that texture. And again, you don't need a lot of it. It's not a bowl, right? It's just one product here.
One product on the table in a close-up.
So I've got a selection of beers, which we will show. Now that we have our product set up, now that we have our surface set up, now that we have a table set up, and we have our backdrop, what's next as far as the camera?
Let's just get our height correct. I'd like to be almost level to the board. Like right now, if we were to point down at the table, we would see the edge of our wooden table. So we need to get lower. So let's go ahead and get level to the actual beer bottles. And as we come down, you'll see that, oh, now our table disappears.
Off the bat, we're already looking kind of okay. So, question, Justin, as it is, would a client be happy with this shot here?
Depends on the client.
Definitely not. And I'm gonna say real quick, if your client is satisfied with this shot here, you need to find better clients and you need to work harder and you need to be the one to push yourself, because I'm gonna say this right here is probably something that a lot of you guys are familiar with. This is just whatever lighting we have in the location on a table pointing at a brick wall. How do we make this look better for product shots? First, camera settings. What are we trying to set to?
On this one, since we don't have a lot of depth to our product, I would say let's go down to like a f4. I think that's what our lens goes to anyways. We don't have a lot of movement here. So slow motion or regular speed, I think you're okay here. We might be actually pouring this beer into a glass later.
Got it.
So we're gonna go ahead and shoot it at 60 frames per second. Just give us some slow-mo. So when we bring our lights in, we're gonna try and get that ISO down so that our image is not as grainy as it is right now.
And again, that's because the ISO is the camera sensitivity to light.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna bring that noise level down.
Gotcha. So when we shoot at a super high ISO, like right now, this is 2500, that's kind of grainy. It's got a little bit of that quality. If we bring in more lights, drop the ISO lower, then it won't look as grainy, it'll look a little more clean.
Clean, pristine shot of the product.
For our first light, what kind of light are we looking for? Hard light or soft light?
Hard light. We are going to give that background some texture. We're gonna put it on the ground. Since we're far back from the wall, we don't have a lot of space to put stands and stuff up in the air. So for this, we're literally just gonna put a light on the ground and shoot it straight up.
And because the wall is 3D and it's brick and kind of juts out, even if you used a 3D printed fake wall, you'll still get some texture if you can bring that light close in. So normally, when you put a light on the floor, you're gonna want some kind of stand that props it up. Sometimes you can use the actual yoke itself. However, I would recommend actually using something like a beaver board, which is basically a nail-on plate that just goes onto a board and points up. But we're going super indie with this. I'm literally just gonna put this light on the floor and plug it in.
I'm gonna bring my ISO down so we can set the exposure. I think all of our lights right now are going to be daylight. So I would like to balance to a daylight color temperature.
Sounds good. Yeah. So whatever we set our white balance to, we're gonna make sure that white looks white in the camera.
That's it.
All right, so we got our first light. We've lit our background now.
We'll bring a soft overhead, like a softbox.
Okay.
We'll put that on a C-stand, reaching over and just falling straight down on the
Okay, so the
product.
key is a soft overhead light that kind of drapes over.
Drapes over.
And a little tip when setting up this kind of stuff is make sure your C-stand leg, the big one, is over where you're gonna arc it out. I know you might see in some product videos that you light just above the top. The reason we're not doing that is because of what?
It's because we're gonna get a really bad reflection right on the front of the bottle.
Or really anything that's shiny, that is kind of pointing at the camera at this angle, it's going to go.
So if we can move that reflection over to the side and away from the logo, that will help us. There it is, and now we'll rotate it to the product. Yeah, that's nice. And so to key this now, we're gonna bring in another softbox and we'll kind of cross key. So instead of having your key on the same side, you're gonna have it on the opposite side, and that's gonna leave you some contrast in the image.
So Justin, what do we need to know about lighting glass bottles?
So glass is hard because it's very reflective. You could see basically every light. In the image that we have right now, we're still getting a reflection. If you use hard light, that's going to show you a point of light, right? Which is really gonna give it away. But since we're using large soft boxes here, the larger the source, it's gonna spread that reflection throughout the bottle, and it's gonna look like there's a almost like a white wall or a window rather than an actual source. So as you can see on this right side of the bottle, we're getting a reflection, but it's a pleasant reflection.
I know for a lot of you people out there, you think maybe this is like, hey, that reflection is so small, I barely noticed it. Believe it or not, there's a subconscious effect, whether the viewer sees it or not, that kind of gives it away. It makes it feel like, oh, this was shot in a studio. This doesn't feel real, doesn't feel authentic. So one light is 45 degrees in the back, one light is 45 degrees in the front, and this one right here is aimed and targeted at the actual label. It's already looking a lot better than it looked before.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And the next thing I would do is see if there's any kind of like tricks we can do. So we throw up some practical lights in the back to kind of throw out of focus and give us like a bokeh of maybe we're at a party or maybe we're at some kind of event.
I have Hampton Bay 12-foot, 12-string lights, cafe string lights. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna drape this between two stands.
Wow.
We're already getting something.
So it looks, actually, it's really cool that these are, we could move this over a little bit to be equal distance. Little things like that in these product shots because it has to be perfect. Yeah. Okay, so now that we have made this symmetrical, I think that light in the back could actually be warmed up. We could throw a tungsten gel on it, a CTO. Yeah,
Gotcha,
and that'll
sounds
also give us some separation too with our daylight on the bottle and a really warm background.
So this right here is a full CTO, so what that's gonna do is it's gonna make sure that this looks actually like tungsten light, so that's important there.
There we go.
Justin, do you trust me with the
I've known Ted for a long time.
Yep.
No.
Look at how beautiful that is, and look at how perfectly, oh! So one of the tricks when you're lighting bottles in particular is to cut a little piece of diffusion that is just wide enough to go around the back of the bottle.
When we put it on the bottle, it's actually gonna reflect the light that's already hitting into the glass. And then when we add an actual pop to it, it's just gonna glow.
A couple things we did. One, we peeled off the label on the back here so that we can put the diffusion over there, have more surface area.
Right.
What is that?
This is a Super 77 multi-purpose adhesive. It's just a general adhesive you can spray on anything, get something to stick.
Okay.
Looks good. All right, let's put it in. Oh yeah, dude, you done it this time.
Oh, well, thank you. Now, before we move on, I want to give a wonderful shout out to our wonderful sponsor, and that is Oxygen Bank, who delivers your personal banking cards in literally the coolest way possible. Here, watch. Ooh. Now, as cool as that was, that's actually just the beginning. Now, as many of you guys know, freelancing is super duper hard. There can be plenty of question marks in between each job, and your income can be wildly different from month to month. However, Oxygen Bank is a bank that actually understands the freelance lifestyle, and they're here to alleviate some of that stress. So, they actually have an app that actually shows you a picture of your finances with information on your spending, upcoming bills, and your expected income. Now, with this, you can actually get a really clear picture on whether or not you should buy that new camera or not, which you already know the answer if you're asking that question in the first place. And Oxygen Bank also offers the ability to open up a line of credit after the account has been open for 90 days. And they actually personalize that loan pricing to you to make sure that you know that you won't get a bad deal on your interest payments. So if you're a freelancer out there, start having your bank do the work for you by going over to oxygenbank.com and learn more about their flexible banking program. But now, back to the episode. What's the next thing that we can do to spice this up?
So nobody, at least in the United States, likes warm beer. This beer to me looks like it just came out of a hot car. Let's cool it off.
So when you pull a beer straight out of an ice chest, it's got that kind of like watery condensation. So we're using a spray mixture of glycerin and water to be able to do this.
Yes.
And this is so that it doesn't evaporate or like melt off or actually wet the actual label.
And it'll kind of just stick there. Ooh.
Ooh, that beer
Okay.
looks cold. So the next thing about glycerin though is that it doesn't actually disappear off your bottle. It's gonna be there basically all day. You don't have to worry about setting up, shooting, and the actual liquid's changing. All that sweat's gonna stay on the actual bottle the entire time.
The last thing I want to do is dim down those practical lights with a hand squeezer, which is just a little dimmer that you can plug into those practical bulbs on the string lights in the back. And that's just going to bring the exposure down on those so they're not overexposed in the background.
So in general, this shot looks great, but why do we have to do anything beyond this?
So you see in a lot of beer commercials where they're pouring the beer, and then when they get to the product shot, there's camera motion that's actually like swooping around the bottle and showing close-ups. It's all about like evoking emotion in the person saying, I need that in my life, right? So if you just shoot a shot like this, you're kind of separated from it, but if you get real up close and personal with it and see how refreshing that glycerin actually looks, it's gonna make you wanna buy it.
So we do have a slider here. This right here is the Syrup Genie 2. This is basically not only a slider, but it's also a little motion control system. This is gonna bounce back and forth to be able to let us get automated, motorized controls. We're using an app that'll let us set one point and then another point. And what the system will do is it'll basically automatically bounce between those two to get us some product shots. Are we ready to roll?
Let's roll.
Let's do this.
Beautiful.
Looks pretty good, yeah.
Let's reload
Dude,
that.
beautiful.
I'm gonna go ahead and add a keyframe, an ease keyframe.
So this way, the ease in, the ease
So
out
it doesn't
basically means
hit
it
and
won't-
start going, right.
It just
Slowly
slows to a
ease in.
stop.
Yep, there it is.
Beautiful.
Boom. Let's try it one more time for safety, and boom. And since we're in slow-mo, that's gonna give us at least, you know, 2 or 3 seconds of a shot, and then we can pop back to our wide shot.
Love it, sounds good.
Great. So by bringing the camera back and going on a longer lens, we are making our background look closer to camera than it actually is. The wider you go, the further your background actually looks. And then the closer, longer lens you do, it will compress the background and your product together. I kind of like this thing. I want to try some stuff with this. Because if you set a shot, you could then essentially trade out different beer bottles
And you could go flip between
and
them.
just flip between them as it's doing the same move.
Hold on, this sounds like an idea on set.
Wow.
Ooh, nice.
Got 'em.
That's good. So we got a glass here now. We're gonna do basically one of the most staple, classic beer bottle pouring shots ever. Put this in, do the shot. Ready?
Do it.
Let's do it. Here we go.
And action. Money.
Go.
All right, let's do
Go
a pour.
pour?
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Action. Oh my God, Ted. Cheers.
Should I lift it up and
Let
pour
me
it?
get some paper towels.
Did it look cool?
Yeah. Would you like to see playback on that, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we got it.
That's it.
Okay, can we get the house lights on? There you have it, guys. There's your episode on how to shoot beer commercials with Justin Jones. Justin, real quick, what are the main things that people want to remember if they're trying to do this for the first time?
So when you're shooting reflective surfaces, just watch out for the reflections of your lights. Use large, soft surfaces and kind of hide those reflections, or move your lights as much as possible. Find a cool location and set up some practicals.
Again, no matter what you're shooting with, no matter what camera you got, no matter what setup you have, this is something that you can always shoot basically no matter where you are. But that's it for us, guys. Justin, if they want to find you, where can they find you?
At Justin Jones DP on Instagram.
Right on, sounds good. And of course, we are here at Beam LA Studios, so if you're interested in checking out some locations as well, check out this place as well, give them some love. And once again, I want to thank Oxygen Bank for sponsoring this video. If you want to bring some consistency to your freelancing career, make sure you check out that link in the description down below. But that's it for me, guys. I'm Ted, this is Indie Mogul. Thank you so much for watching, and of course, we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Gaffer Ted.
Oh my gosh. You know, I saw a Craigslist ad looking for Gaffer Ted in like the personal section.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was like a Thought about answering it for a
Did you
second.
answer?
Being like, hey man, Craigslist personal, looking for a TED to give.